My secret son worked with my billionaire CEO ex-husband for 3 months, without knowing each other. Mara. Look at me. The fluorescent lights of Sterling General Hospital buzzed overhead as Lucian Ward cornered me in that empty hallway. His hands were shaking. I had never seen this man shake. Not when he closed his first $1 million deal. Not when he stood before investors pitching his empire. But here, now, with my son lying in a hospital bed 30 feet away, the great Lucian Ward was trembling. Is he mine? His voice cracked on those 3 words. Is Jace my son? I could not speak. Could not breathe. Could not do anything but stand there with tears streaming down my face while 14 years of carefully constructed lies crumbled to dust around my feet. Please. His eyes, those piercing blue eyes that I saw every single day in my son's face, were filled with something I had never seen before. Tell me the truth, Mara. That boy in there. The one I have been mentoring for 3 months. The one who has your smile and my eyes and a mind that works exactly like mine. Tell me he is mine. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Yes. 1 word. That is all it took to shatter 2 lives and maybe, just maybe, begin to heal a 3rd. Lucian stumbled backward like I had physically struck him. He pressed his palm against the wall to steady himself. 13 years. His voice was barely a whisper. You kept him from me for 13 years. You sent me divorce papers, I shot back, finding my voice through the tears. You chose your company over your family. You made your choice, Lucian. I did not know about him. His face twisted in anguish. God, Mara, I did not know I had a son. But here is the thing about secrets. They never stay buried forever. And the story of how we got to that hospital hallway, how my brilliant 13-year-old son spent 3 months working alongside his billionaire father without either of them knowing the truth, well, that story started long before that terrible, wonderful day. Let me take you back. Back to the beginning. Back to the moment when everything I had built came crashing down. Have you ever kept a secret so devastating that it shaped every single decision you made for over a decade? Have you ever watched the person you once loved with your whole heart fall in love with someone they did not even know belonged to them? That was my life. For 3 months, I lived in a special kind of hell, watching father and son bond while the truth sat like a stone in my throat. If you love stories about second chances, about the secrets we keep to protect the people we love, about what happens when the past collides with the present in the most unexpected way, then you are exactly where you need to be. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Mr. Steven Stories. And drop a comment telling me, would you have kept this secret? Would you have done what I did? Now let me tell you how this all began. 3 weeks earlier. I was standing in my small kitchen in the Riverside district of Sterling City, staring at my phone like it was a live grenade. The email notification glowed on the screen, innocent and devastating all at once. Mom. Jace appeared in the doorway, sleep still clinging to his features, dark curls sticking up in every direction. Did it come? Did I get in? My throat closed. I looked at my 13-year-old son, at those blue eyes so full of hope and excitement, and I felt my carefully constructed world begin to tilt on its axis. Yeah, baby. I forced the words past the knot in my chest. You got in. The sound he made was pure joy. He hooped, actually hooped, launching himself across the kitchen to grab the phone from my hands. His eyes devoured the email, drinking in every word. The Ward Innovation Fellowship. He looked up at me with such pride, such innocent happiness. Mom, do you know what this means? 12 weeks of mentorship with the best tech minds in Sterling City. And Lucian Ward himself personally works with each fellow. This is everything. This is my dream. I know, sweetheart. My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. I am so proud of you. Jace was already pulling out his own phone, texting his friends, probably already planning what projects he would pitch, what questions he would ask. He was brilliant, my son. Gifted in ways that still amazed me every single day. He had taught himself coding by age 9. Built his first functioning robot by 11. His room was a labyrinth of half-assembled projects, circuit boards, and notebooks filled with ideas that would probably change the world someday. He had his father's mind. His father's relentless drive to innovate, to build, to create something meaningful. And in 2 weeks, he would meet the man who gave him that mind. The man who had chosen his empire over us. The man whose name I had never spoken aloud in my son's presence. Lucian Ward. After Jace disappeared back to his room, probably to video call his best friend Marcus, I sank into the kitchen chair and let the phone clatter to the table. My hands were shaking. 14 years. 14 years I had managed to keep them apart. Sterling City was big enough to disappear in if you knew how. I had built my life in Riverside, far from the gleaming tech towers and venture capital firms that dominated the downtown corridor where Lucian's empire stood tall. I had been so careful. Changed my number after the divorce. Blocked his email. Moved across the city before Jace was even born. When people asked about Jace's father, I kept it vague. An old relationship. Did not work out. He is not in the picture. Sterling City was full of single mothers. Nobody pressed for details I did not offer. But I should have known. Should have realized that Jace's talent would eventually draw him into Lucian's orbit. The tech world in Sterling City was interconnected, incestuous almost. And Lucian Ward was its king. My phone buzzed. Talia Brooks. My best friend since college, my business partner, the woman who had held my hand through labor and helped me paint Jace's nursery in our cramped first apartment. Saw Jace's Instagram post, her text read. Viv, we need to talk. Now. I am at the kitchen table, I typed back. Come over. She arrived 20 minutes later with coffee and the kind of expression that told me she was not here to celebrate. You have to tell Lucian, Talia said without preamble, settling into the chair across from me. Before Jace figures it out himself. Before someone else connects the dots. I stared into my coffee. And say what, exactly? Hey, remember me? Your ex-wife. Surprise, that incredibly talented 13-year-old you have been following on the fellowship applications is actually your son. Talia leaned forward. Mara, listen to me. Lucian Ward is one of the most photographed men in Sterling City. His face is on magazine covers. He does TED Talks that get millions of views. Do you really think Jace is not going to notice when he is standing in the same room with a man who has the exact same eyes? The same expressions? The same way of thinking? My stomach churned. Maybe he will just think it is a coincidence. Talia gave me a look that said exactly what she thought of that hope. I buried my face in my hands. I am terrified, Tal. What if Lucian tries to take him from me? He has money, power, lawyers. What if he decides I kept Jace from him and fights for custody? What if, Talia said softly, he just wants to know his son? What if you are denying both of them something they deserve? I looked up sharply. He does not deserve Jace. He sent me divorce papers when I told him I was pregnant. He chose his company, his empire, his ambition over his own family. Did he know about Jace specifically? Talia asked. Or did he just know you were pregnant and panic? The memory rose up, sharp-edged and unforgiving despite the passage of 14 years. Lucian's minimalist office with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Sterling City's glittering tech corridor. Me, 24 years old, drowning in love and terror. I am pregnant. 2 words that should have brought joy. 2 words that instead brought the shuddering of his expression, the careful distance in his voice. Mara, the timing. The Series B funding round closes next week. The investors are already concerned about my age, my experience. If they think I am distracted by personal matters. Personal matters. As if our child was an inconvenience to be managed. I left his office in a daze. Waited 3 days for him to call, to come home to our tiny shared apartment, to choose me. To choose us. On the 4th day, divorce papers arrived via courier. Clean. Efficient. Accompanied by a check that made my stomach turn and a brief note in Lucian's precise handwriting. I think this is best for both of us. You deserve someone who can give you the life you want. I am sorry. I had torn up the check. Signed the papers. And disappeared. When Jace was born 7 months later, perfect and small and crying with outraged vigor, I held him against my chest and made a silent vow. You will always be wanted. You will always be chosen. You will never be someone's inconvenient timing. Talia was still watching me, waiting for an answer. It does not matter what he knew, I said finally. What matters is what he chose. And he chose his empire. And now you are choosing to keep his son from him, Talia said gently. I am not saying you are wrong, Mara. I am just saying this is going to blow up one way or another. Do not you want to control how it happens? Before I could answer, Jace burst back into the kitchen, laptop in hand. Mom, look. He turned the screen toward me. Lucian Ward's latest interview. He talks about the fellowship, about wanting to mentor the next generation of innovators. He says technology should solve human problems, not create them. Is not that exactly what I have been saying about my environmental monitoring robot? I stared at the screen. At Lucian's face. Older now, silver threading through his dark hair, lines at the corners of his eyes that had not been there 14 years ago. But those eyes. God, those eyes. The same eyes that looked at me every morning from my son's face. Yeah, baby, I managed. That is exactly what you have been saying. 2 weeks later, I stood outside the Ward Innovation Center watching Jace bounce with excitement and feeling like I was marching toward my own execution. The building was all glass and steel and soaring ambition, exactly the kind of architectural statement Lucian would make. It dominated an entire block in the tech district, the Ward Industries logo gleaming in the morning sun. 12 young people and their families gathered in the lobby, everyone dressed in careful casual elegance. I had chosen jeans and a simple blazer, trying to blend in, trying to be invisible. Jace, of course, was anything but invisible. He was already talking to the other fellows, eyes bright with enthusiasm, hands gesturing as he described his latest robotics project. Parents milled around, making small talk. I positioned myself near the back of the group, trying to calm my racing heart. And then Lucian walked in. 14 years dissolved in an instant. The air left my lungs. My vision tunneled. He looked different. Older, yes, but also somehow more settled in his own skin. Success suited him. Confidence radiated from every movement. He wore dark slacks and a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, somehow managing to look both casual and completely in command. Welcome, everyone. His voice was the same, deep and warm and certain. I am Lucian Ward, and I want to personally thank each of you for being here. This fellowship represents something I am deeply passionate about. Nurturing young minds, fostering innovation, and building the next generation of ethical technologists. His eyes swept across the gathered families. Welcoming. Professional. Warm. And then they landed on me. I watched the shock hit him. Watched his carefully composed expression fracture. His eyes widened. Color drained from his face, then rushed back. His lips parted. For a heartbeat, neither of us breathed. Then he blinked, visibly gathering himself, and continued speaking. But his voice was rougher now. Less certain. Over the next 12 weeks, you will work on individual projects with mentorship and support. You will have access to our labs, our equipment, our expertise. And I personally commit to spending time with each of you. I could feel his eyes returning to me even as he addressed the group. Questions written all over his face. Confusion. Disbelief. What are you doing here, Mara? After all these years, what are you doing in my building? If he only knew. Excuse me, Mr. Ward. Jace's hand shot up, his voice carrying across the lobby. I have been studying your work since I was 10 years old. Your approach to sustainable tech development completely changed how I think about innovation. How do you balance profitability with social responsibility? Lucian's attention shifted to Jace. And I watched, my heart in my throat, as recognition flickered across his face. Not understanding. Not yet. But something. Some inexplicable pull he could not name. Lucian stared at my son. Really stared. Taking in the dark curls, the bone structure, the way Jace tilted his head when he asked a question. The blue eyes that mirrored his own. That is, Lucian said slowly, his gaze locked on Jace with an intensity that made my hands go cold. An excellent question. What is your name? Jace Ellington, sir. Ellington. Lucian's eyes cut to me. Sharp. Searching. I saw the wheels turning in that brilliant mind. Ellington was my maiden name. The name I had gone back to after the divorce. You have, Lucian said to Jace, but his eyes were still on me, a very thoughtful approach to innovation. I look forward to working with you specifically. The orientation continued, but I barely heard any of it. All I could focus on was the way Lucian kept glancing at Jace. The way something like wonder and confusion wore on his face. When the formal presentation ended and families began to disperse, I tried to make a quick exit. Grabbed Jace's arm and headed for the door. Mara. Lucian's voice stopped me like a physical touch. I turned slowly. He stood 10 feet away, families flowing around us, his expression carefully neutral but his eyes burning with questions. Can we talk? He asked. Please. I have to get Jace home, I said. School night. Mom, Jace protested. It is Saturday. Lucian's expression flickered. Something that might have been amusement under different circumstances. Just a few minutes, he pressed. To catch up. It has been a long time. The understatement of the century. Fine, I heard myself say. Jace, wait in the lobby. I will be right back. Jace looked between us, curiosity evident on his face, but he nodded and headed toward the seating area where some of the other fellows were gathered. Lucian led me to a small conference room off the main lobby. Glass walls. Very public. Very safe. He closed the door and turned to face me. 14 years, he said quietly. Not a word, Mara. Not a single word. You sent me divorce papers, I replied, keeping my voice level. What exactly was I supposed to say? I was 26 years old and terrified. His jaw tightened. You told me you were pregnant and I panicked. I made a horrible decision. But you disappeared. Changed your number. I tried to find you. Not very hard, apparently. His eyes flashed. I had lawyers looking for months. You went completely off-grid. I had a child to protect. From me? Pain crossed his face. Did you really think I would hurt you? Or a baby? I thought you would take him from me. My voice shook despite my best efforts to control it. You had money, family connections, power. I was a 24-year-old with no resources and a baby on the way. What chance would I have had if you decided you wanted custody? So you just decided for both of us that I did not get to be a father. You decided that when you chose your company over your family. The words hung between us, sharp and bitter. Lucian ran a hand through his hair, that familiar gesture of frustration I remembered so well. That boy, he said after a long moment. Jace. How old is he? My heart hammered. 13. 13. Lucian's voice was flat. And when is his birthday? March 7th. I watched him do the math. Watched realization dawn slowly across his face. Mara. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. Is he mine? I could not answer. Could not force the words past my throat. Look at me. Lucian stepped closer. Please. Just look at me and tell me the truth. Is Jace my son? Before I could answer, before I could confirm what he already knew in his heart, a knock sounded on the glass door. One of the fellowship coordinators stood there looking apologetic. Mr. Ward, I am sorry to interrupt, but you are needed for the facility tour. Lucian did not take his eyes off me. Give me 5 minutes. The coordinator nodded and retreated. We will finish this conversation later, Lucian said, his voice rough with barely controlled emotion. But Mara, if that boy is mine, if you have kept my son from me for 13 years, we are going to have a very different kind of discussion. He walked out, leaving me trembling in that glass-walled conference room. I had not confirmed it. Had not said the words out loud. But we both knew. The truth was written in Jace's face, in the timeline, in every similarity that Lucian had already started cataloging. The secret I had kept for 13 years was already unraveling. And I had no idea how to stop it. If your heart is already racing, if you need to know what happens next, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. Smash that subscribe button for Mr. Steven Stories. And drop a comment telling me, is Mara wrong for keeping this secret? Should she have told Lucian years ago? I want to hear your thoughts. Because this story is about to get a whole lot more complicated. Over the next 4 weeks, I watched Lucian fall in love with his son. It was not intentional. Not calculated. It was something deeper and more instinctual. Some fundamental recognition that drew him to Jace again and again. The fellowship met 3 times a week. Jace would come home bursting with stories about Mr. Ward, about the conversations they had, the advice he gave, the way he explained complex concepts. Mom, you should have seen it today. Jace's eyes shone as he recounted his 3rd week. Mr. Ward spent 2 hours just with me, going over my environmental monitoring robot design. He did not talk down to me or treat me like a kid. He talked to me like I was a real engineer. Like my ideas mattered. That is wonderful, baby. I forced enthusiasm into my voice while my stomach churned. And he thinks like I do. Jace was animated in a way I rarely saw. Like, I will start explaining a problem and he will finish my thought. It is like he already knows how my brain works. Is not that weird? Not weird, I thought. Genetic. Talia came over that evening after Jace was asleep. She found me on the balcony, staring across the city toward the downtown towers where Lucian's empire glowed against the night sky. You have to tell them, she said without preamble. Both of them. Before someone else figures it out. How? I asked helplessly. How do I tell my 13-year-old son that the man he has been hero-worshipping for the past month is actually his father? How do I explain why I kept them apart? With the truth. Talia sat beside me. You tell him you were young and scared and trying to protect him. You tell him you made the best choice you could with the information you had. And Lucian? You tell him the same thing. But that was the problem. I was not sure anymore if I had made the best choice. Watching Jace bloom under Lucian's attention, seeing how naturally they connected, I was starting to wonder if my protection had actually been deprivation. The 5th week of the fellowship brought a new complication. Evelyn Rhodes. She arrived at the fellowship's family observation day in a sleek charcoal dress and heels that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Beautiful in that effortless way that money and privilege cultivated. She moved through the Ward Innovation Center like she owned it, her hand occasionally touching Lucian's arm with casual intimacy. His girlfriend, I realized with a jolt that felt disturbingly like jealousy. "Evelyn," Lucian said when he spotted her, "I did not expect you today. I wanted to see what has been taking up so much of your time." Her smile was warm but her eyes were sharp as they swept across the gathered families. "You have been so invested in this fellowship. More than usual." Her gaze landed on me. Lingered. Then moved to Jace, who was demonstrating his robot to a group of parents. I watched her eyes narrow. Watched her look between Jace and Lucian. Watched the gears turn. She was smart, Evelyn Rhodes. You did not become the director of Sterling City's most prestigious art foundation without being exceptionally perceptive. And she was seeing what anyone with eyes would see if they looked closely enough. The resemblance between Lucian Ward and Jace Ellington. She approached me while Lucian was occupied with other families. "You are Jace's mother." It was not a question. "Mara Ellington." I shook her extended hand. "Evelyn Rhodes." Her grip was firm, her smile professional. "Your son is quite talented. Lucian has mentioned him several times. He is very excited about the fellowship. I imagine." Evelyn's eyes drifted to where Jace stood, animated and brilliant, explaining the environmental applications of his robotics project. "He seems to have made quite an impression on Lucian. They have a very natural rapport." There was something in her tone. Not quite accusatory, but probing. "Jace admires Mr. Ward's work," I said carefully. "Of course." Evelyn's smile did not reach her eyes. "And the resemblance must be coincidental." My heart stopped. "Excuse me." The eyes. The expressions. The way they both gesture when they are explaining something technical. She watched me closely. "Quite striking, really. But I am sure it is just one of those funny quirks of fate." She knew. Or suspected. And she was giving me a chance to come clean. Before I could formulate a response, Jace appeared at my elbow. "Mom, Mr. Ward wants to talk to you about the showcase project at the end of the fellowship. He is thinking I could present to some potential investors." "That is wonderful, sweetheart." My voice sounded distant even to my own ears. Evelyn watched this exchange with those sharp, calculating eyes. "Lovely to meet you, Mara." Her smile was all teeth. "I am sure we will see each other again." She glided away, but I could feel her watching us for the rest of the event. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. About Jace. About what you are not telling Lucian. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Sterling Cafe on 5th. It was not signed, but I knew who it was from. I arrived 15 minutes early, ordered coffee I could not taste, and waited. Evelyn arrived exactly on time, settling into the chair across from me with elegant precision. "Let me be direct," she said without preamble. "Is Jace Lucian's son?" My hands tightened around my coffee cup. "I do not know what you are talking about." "Yes, you do." Evelyn leaned forward. "I have been with Lucian for 8 months. I know him. I know his mannerisms, his expressions, the way his mind works. And that boy is his mirror image." "Even if that were true," I said slowly, "it would not be any of your business. It becomes my business when the man I am building a future with is being lied to." Her voice was sharp but not unkind. "Does Lucian know?" I did not answer. "Does Jace?" Again, silence. Evelyn sat back, something like sympathy crossing her features. "You are in an impossible situation. I can see that. But Mara, keeping this secret is not protecting anyone. It is a bomb waiting to go off. And when it does, the fallout is going to hurt all 3 of you. What do you want me to do? Tell them." She was quiet but firm. Before someone else figures it out. Before the media gets hold of it. Lucian Ward's secret son would be a major story. Are you threatening me? I am trying to help you. Evelyn gathered her bag. I actually like Lucian. Quite a bit. And I can see he is already half in love with that boy without knowing why. Give him the truth. Give them both the truth. They deserve that much. She stood, paused, then added, you have 1 week. After that, I am going to tell Lucian what I suspect. Not because I want to hurt you, but because he deserves to know. She left me sitting there with cold coffee and a deadline that felt like a noose tightening. The 7th week brought the thing I had been dreading. Jace started asking questions. It began small. Mom, have you ever met Mr. Ward before the fellowship? No, baby. Why? I do not know. He seems really comfortable with you. Like you are not a stranger. I barely know him, I lied, the words tasting like ash. But Jace was his father's son. Brilliant, perceptive, unable to let a puzzle go unsolved. He started looking at photos. Comparing his own features to images of Lucian Ward that littered the internet. One evening, I walked past his room and heard him on the phone with Marcus. I know it sounds crazy, Jace was saying. But we have the same eyes. The exact same eyes. And my mom gets so weird whenever I talk about him. What if there is something she is not telling me? My heart hammered. I should have walked away, given him privacy, but I stood frozen in the hallway. My dad, Jace continued, was supposedly some guy who was not ready to be a father. But Mom has never told me his name. Never showed me pictures. What if it is because he is someone I would recognize? No, I thought desperately. Not yet. He is not ready. I am not ready. But Evelyn's deadline was ticking down. 4 more days. I called Lucian's office the next morning. Asked for a private meeting. Was told he could see me at 3. I arrived at Ward Industries at 2:55, palms sweating, heart racing. The receptionist directed me to the executive floor, where Lucian's assistant greeted me with professional courtesy and led me to his office. The same office where I had told him I was pregnant 14 years ago. Mara. Lucian stood from behind his desk, surprise evident on his face. I did not expect to hear from you. We need to talk. My voice was steadier than I felt. Privately. He nodded, dismissing his assistant and closing the door. The office had changed. More refined now, more expensive. But those floor-to-ceiling windows still looked out over Sterling City's tech corridor. Over the empire he had built. What is this about? Lucian asked, gesturing to the seating area. I remained standing. It is about Jace. Something shifted in his expression. Wariness. Hope. Fear. I have been working with him for 7 weeks, Lucian said carefully. And every day I see more of myself in him. The way he thinks. The questions he asks. His approach to problem solving. He stepped closer. I have asked you once before, and you did not answer. So I am asking again, directly. Is Jace my son? Before I could respond, his office door burst open. Dad, sorry to interrupt but, Jace froze in the doorway. Mom. What are you doing here? Behind him, Lucian's assistant looked mortified. I am so sorry, Mr. Ward. He said he was your son and I assumed, I did not realize you meant. It is fine, Lucian said, not taking his eyes off Jace. His face had gone pale. Jace looked between us, confusion morphing into something sharper. Suspicion. Why are you here, Mom? His voice was tight. And why do you both look like I just caught you doing something wrong? Jace, I started, but my voice failed. The boy, no, my son, my brilliant, perceptive son, turned to Lucian. When is your birthday, Mr. Ward? Lucian blinked at the sudden question. June 15th. Why? What year? Lucian glanced at me, then back to Jace. 1989. I was born in March of 2011. Jace's voice was shaking now. That means I was conceived in June of 2010. My mom was 24. You would have been, what? 26. Jace, I tried again. But he was not looking at me. He was staring at Lucian with those blue eyes, those heartbreakingly familiar eyes. She told me my father was not ready to be a parent. That he had other priorities. That he made a choice. Jace's hands clenched at his sides. Is that you? Are you my father? The silence was deafening. Lucian looked at me, desperation written across his face. Mara. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Every excuse I had ever crafted crumbled in the face of my son's direct question. Yes, I whispered. Yes, he is. Jace stumbled backward like I had struck him. You lied to me. His voice broke on the words. You lied to me my entire life. Baby, I tried to protect you. From what? Jace's eyes blazed. From knowing my own father. From having someone else who could love me. From the truth. He turned to Lucian, who stood frozen in shock. Did you know? About me? No. Lucian's voice was rough. I swear, Jace. I did not know you existed. But you knew about Mom being pregnant? Lucian's silence was answer enough. Jace laughed, bitter and broken. So you did not want me. You knew and you left anyway. It was not like that, Lucian said urgently. I was young and stupid and so scared. I made a horrible choice, Jace. A choice I have regretted for 14 years. Did you regret it? Jace shot back. Or did you just build your empire and forget we existed? I tried to find your mother. Lucian stepped toward Jace. When I realized what I had thrown away, I tried. But she had disappeared. Because I thought you would take him from me, I interjected. Lucian, you have to understand. I was terrified. You had money, power, lawyers. What chance would I have had? So instead you just erased me from his life completely. Lucian's voice rose. I missed everything, Mara. First steps. First words. 13 years of birthdays and school plays and bedtime stories. You took all of that from me. You took yourself out of the picture, I fired back. You sent me divorce papers. Because I was 26 and terrified and believed I was doing the right thing. Lucian ran his hands through his hair. Not because I did not care. Not because I did not love you. The admission hung in the air. Jace looked between us, his expression crumbling. I cannot. His voice broke. I cannot do this right now. He ran. Straight out of the office, past the stunned assistant, toward the elevators. Jace, I called, chasing after him. Please, baby, wait. But the elevator doors closed before I could reach him. I spun toward Lucian, who had followed me out. We have to find him. My car, Lucian said immediately. He headed for the private elevator, pulling out his phone. I am calling Marcus's parents. He might go there. We rode down in tense silence, both frantically making calls. Talia. Marcus's mom. Jace's other friends. No one had seen him. Lucian's driver had the car ready when we burst out of the building. Where would he go? Lucian asked as we sped through Sterling City traffic. When he is upset, where does he go? The robotics lab at his school, I said. Or the park near our apartment. The one with the observation deck where you can see the whole city. Head to Riverside Park, Lucian told the driver. We found him on the observation deck, sitting on a bench, staring out at Sterling City's sprawling skyline. His shoulders were shaking. I approached slowly, like he was something fragile. Something already broken. Jace, sweetheart. He did not turn around. My whole life is a lie. No. I sat beside him. My love for you was never a lie. Everything I did to protect you. From having a father. His voice was small, broken. That is what you were protecting me from. From being taken away from me. I touched his shoulder gently. Jace, you have to understand. Lucian was already building his empire. His family had money and connections I could never compete with. I was terrified they would decide I was not good enough and take you from me. So you decided for me. Jace finally looked at me, tears streaming down his face. You decided I was better off not knowing him at all. I was wrong. The admission tore from my throat. I can see that now. I can see how you are with him, how you light up when you talk about him. I can see what I took from both of you and I am so sorry. Lucian had been standing a respectful distance away, giving us space. But now he moved closer. Jace, he said softly. May I sit? Jace shrugged, not quite permission but not refusal either. Lucian sat on the other side of the bench. I want you to know something, Lucian said. These past 7 weeks of working with you have been some of the best of my life. I did not know you were my son, but I felt something. Some connection I could not explain. Every time we talked, every time I saw your mind work through a problem, I felt this sense of recognition. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. And now that I know the truth, now that I understand why I felt that connection, I am devastated that I missed 13 years. But Jace, I want to be clear about something. Your mother was not wrong to fear me. I looked at him sharply. 14 years ago, Lucian continued, I was so focused on building my company, on proving myself, that I let the best thing in my life walk away. I sent divorce papers instead of fighting for my marriage. I chose ambition over love. Your mother had every reason to believe I would do the same thing with you. That I would see you as an obligation instead of the blessing you are. Tears tracked down Lucian's face now. She was wrong about one thing though. If I had known about you specifically, if I had known I had a son, I like to believe I would have made different choices. But I cannot rewrite the past. I can only promise that from this moment forward, if you will let me, I want to be your father. Not just in DNA, but in every way that matters. Jace was crying harder now. I do not know how to trust you. I understand, Lucian said. Trust is earned. So let me earn it. Let me show up. Let me be there for the next 13 years in all the ways I was not there for the first. What if you change your mind? Jace's voice was small. What if you decide your company is still more important? Lucian reached out, hesitated, then gently placed his hand on Jace's shoulder. Then you have permission to hate me. But Jace, I promise you, I will not change my mind. You are my son. And nothing, not my company, not my reputation, nothing is more important than that. Jace turned to look at Lucian fully. You really did not know about me? I really did not know. If I had, everything would have been different. Jace looked at me. Is that true, Mom? Would he have stayed if he had known specifically about me? I thought back to that conversation in Lucian's office. To the fear and panic in his eyes when I said I was pregnant. To the divorce papers that arrived days later. I do not know, I said honestly. I was too afraid to find out. Jace nodded slowly. Then wiped his face with the back of his hand. I need time. To process all of this. To figure out what I am feeling. That is fair, Lucian said immediately. Take all the time you need. But, Jace added, I do not want to stop the fellowship. I still want to work on my projects. Even if things are weird now. Things do not have to be weird, Lucian said gently. We can take this at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Jace stood, looked between us. Can we go home now? I am tired. Of course, baby. I stood, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical tiredness. Lucian's driver took us back to Riverside. The ride was quiet, each of us lost in our own thoughts. When we pulled up to my apartment building, Jace got out without a word and headed inside. I lingered by the car, looking at Lucian through the open window. I am sorry, I said quietly. For all of it. For keeping him from you. For not trusting you enough to tell you the truth. And I had no idea if we would build something better from the ruins, or if we had just broken something that could never be repaired. If this story has you feeling all the emotions right now, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Mr. Steven's Stories because trust me, you do not want to miss how this ends. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below, Team Mara or Team Lucian. Who do you think was right? Let me know. Because this story is not over. Not by a long shot. The next 2 weeks were strange and tentative and sometimes painfully awkward. Lucian and I agreed to give Jace space while figuring out the logistics of co-parenting a 13-year-old we had both spent over a decade not sharing. Lawyers got involved. Not in an adversarial way, thankfully, but to set up child support, establish custody arrangements, and protect Jace's interests. Lucian insisted on back pay. 13 years of support he had not provided. I tried to refuse. This is not about us, he said firmly when we met at his lawyer's office. This is about Jace. Let me do this. Please. So I signed the papers that would transfer an amount of money into a trust for Jace that made my head spin. Money for college, for starting a company someday, for whatever future he wanted to build. Custody was joint, with Jace's input heavily weighted. He wanted to stay primarily with me but have regular time with Lucian. Dinners. Weekends. Holidays split. We are not erasing the life you built, Lucian told Jace during one of their first awkward dinners together. I am just trying to be part of it now. The fellowship continued. Jace threw himself into his robotics project with renewed intensity, almost like he was trying to prove something. To Lucian. To himself. Maybe to both. Evelyn Rhodes quietly exited Lucian's life. I never spoke to her again, but Talia mentioned seeing an interview where Evelyn graciously declined to comment on her relationship with Lucian Ward, citing a mutual decision to part ways. I wondered if she was hurt. Or relieved. Or some complicated mixture of both. And then came the incident that would finally force everything into the open. Week 11 of the fellowship. A field demonstration at one of Ward Industries' research facilities. Jace was testing a prototype of his environmental monitoring robot, showing how it could navigate rough terrain and take soil samples. The equipment malfunctioned. A mechanical arm swung wider than programmed. I watched in horror as it caught Jace's forearm, metal against bone. His screen cut through the facility. Lucian was there in seconds, his face white with terror. He hit the emergency shut-off, carefully extracted Jace's arm from the mechanism. Blood. So much blood. Call an ambulance, Lucian shouted, his voice breaking. Now. He gathered Jace against his chest, applying pressure to the wound with shaking hands. You are okay. You are okay. I have got you. It hurts, Jace gasped through tears. Dad, it hurts. I know, buddy. I know. Lucian's voice cracked on the words. But you are going to be fine. I promise. I stood frozen, useless, watching Lucian cradle our son and realizing it was the first time Jace had called him Dad. The ambulance arrived. EMTs took over. Lucian refused to let go of Jace's hand, climbing into the ambulance with him. I followed in my car, hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the wheel. Sterling General Hospital's ER was a blur of forms and questions and waiting. They took Jace back immediately, leaving Lucian and me in the waiting area. We sat side by side, not speaking, both of us shattered. He called me Dad, Lucian finally whispered. When he was scared and hurting, he called me Dad. I know. My voice was thick with unshed tears. What if I had lost him? Lucian turned to me, his face ravaged. Mara, what if I had just found him and then lost him? You did not. I grabbed his hand without thinking. He is going to be okay. We sat there, holding hands like we had not done in 14 years, waiting for news about our son. Dr. Phillips finally emerged 2 hours later. Jace is stable, she said. The laceration required stitches but there is no permanent damage. We have given him something for the pain and he is resting comfortably. Thank God. Lucian sagged with relief. Can we see him? I asked. Of course. Follow me. But as we walked toward Jace's room, Dr. Phillips added, I do need some information for his medical records. The form lists his father as unknown. Is there an update? Lucian and I exchanged a glance. I am his father, Lucian said. Lucian Ward. Dr. Phillips blinked in surprise but recovered quickly. And blood type? A positive. Interesting. Dr. Phillips checked her chart. Jace is also a positive. Do you happen to know your Rh factor? Positive, Lucian said slowly. Why? Just checking genetic compatibility for our records. Dr. Phillips smiled. You are clearly his father. The resemblance is remarkable. We entered Jace's room to find him awake, his bandaged arm resting across his chest. Hey, he said softly when he saw us. Sorry I scared you guys. Sorry. Lucian moved to his bedside. Jace, you have nothing to be sorry for. I should have been more careful with the calibration. Stop. I sat on the other side of the bed. This was an accident. Accidents happen. Jace looked between us. You both look terrible. We were terrified, Lucian admitted. The thought of losing you. You just found me, Jace said with a small smile. That would be really bad timing. The worst, Lucian agreed, his voice rough. Jace reached out with his good hand toward Lucian. I am sorry for being so angry at you. I know you did not know about me. I know Mom was just trying to protect me. I needed time to process. I understand, Lucian said, taking Jace's hand. Take all the time you need. I do not need more time. Jace's eyes filled with tears. You stayed in the ambulance with me. You did not leave. Mom said that is what being a father is. Showing up. Staying. I will always stay, Lucian promised. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, I will be there. Jace turned to me. I am not mad at you anymore either, Mom. I understand why you were scared. And you did show up. Every day of my life, you showed up. I was crying now, holding my son's hand, watching him forgive us both for the ways we had failed him. So, Jace said, looking between us, are we going to figure out how to be a family? A weird, complicated, non-traditional family? Yeah, Lucian and I said simultaneously. Jace smiled. Good. Because I kind of like having a dad. Even if he does run a tech empire and have terrible timing. Lucian laughed through his tears. I love you, Jace. I know I have only known you are my son for 2 weeks, but I love you so much. I love you too, Dad. And there, in that hospital room with its beeping machines and sterile smell, something broken began to heal. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough. Enough to start building something new from the ruins of what we had lost. 6 months later. I stood in the audience of the Ward Innovation Center's showcase event, watching Jace present his environmental monitoring robot to a room full of investors and tech leaders. He was confident, articulate, brilliant. Every bit his father's son. Lucian stood beside me, pride radiating from every line of his body. He is incredible, Lucian murmured. He is, I agreed. Things between us had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Co-parenting. Shared custody. Occasional family dinners that were getting less awkward each time. Lucian had kept his promise. Showed up for every school event, every robotics competition. Had dinner with Jace 3 times a week. Spent every other weekend teaching him advanced coding and taking him to tech conferences. And slowly, tentatively, Jace was letting himself believe that his father would not disappear. After the presentation, as investors crowded around Jace asking questions, Lucian turned to me. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For raising him. For doing it alone all those years. For making him into the person he is." I felt my throat tighten. "You are part of who he is too, Lucian. His mind, his drive, his passion for innovation. That is all you. It is both of us." Lucian held my gaze. "We made something pretty spectacular together." "Yeah," I agreed softly. "We did." "Mara," he hesitated, then continued, "I know we are not together. I know too much has happened for us to just pick up where we left off. But I want you to know, these past months, getting to know Jace, building this co-parenting relationship with you, it has been the best thing in my life. Better than any company I have built. Better than any success I have achieved. Lucian. I am not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know. You and Jace, you are what matters. Everything else is just noise." Before I could respond, Jace bounded over, face flushed with excitement. "Mom, Dad, did you see? 3 investors want to talk about funding. And Mr. Chen from MIT was asking about my college plans. That is incredible, sweetheart." I pulled him into a hug, careful of his still healing arm. Lucian ruffled Jace's hair affectionately. "I am so proud of you, buddy. Can we go celebrate?" Jace looked between us hopefully. "The 3 of us? Maybe that Italian place you both like?" Lucian and I exchanged a glance. We had been carefully avoiding too much time together as a family unit, not wanting to confuse Jace about the nature of our relationship. But looking at our son's hopeful face, I could not say no. "Yeah," I said. "Let us celebrate." As we walked out of the Ward Innovation Center together, Jace between us, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The secrets kept. The pain endured. The forgiveness granted. It was not the family I had planned. Not the story I thought I would tell. But looking at Jace, at the father and son relationship that was blooming despite its rocky start, at the possibility of something healing between Lucian and me, I realized something important. Sometimes the broken pieces, when put back together, create something even more beautiful than the original. And sometimes, just sometimes, second chances are real. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in the power of forgiveness and second chances, I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Mr. Steven's Stories so you never miss another powerful story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below telling me about a time you had to forgive someone, or a time someone forgave you. Because that is what life is really about. Not the mistakes we make, but what we do after. Not the secrets we keep, but the truth we find the courage to tell. Not the ways we fail each other, but the ways we show up and try again. Mara Ellington kept a secret for 13 years. And when that secret finally came to light, it did not destroy them. It freed them. Lucian Ward built an empire but missed what mattered most. And when he finally got a second chance, he chose differently. And Jace Ellington discovered his father was the man he had been admiring for months. And he found the courage to forgive them both. 3 people broken by choices made in fear. 3 people healing through choices made in love. That is the power of second chances. That is the power of showing up, even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. That is the power of family, in whatever form it takes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this story. Until next time, I am Mr. Steven, reminding you that it is never too late to choose love over fear, truth over secrets, and forgiveness over bitterness. Your story is still being written. Make it a good one.